Hey everybody, this is Nick again. Today I should have said this earlier on my last blog. Today is March the 20th, 2010. This is what I was going to talk about up until I read an article just a few seconds ago before I start recording. In Grosse Pointe here, we actually had a woman who went missing February the 4th. Her name was Joann. Romain, or Matouk Romain, I'm sorry. She was a lady from Grosse Pointe Woods, and from what they said was that she had gone out to do some errands, and while she was out, she was going to go to the church, say a prayer, say a rosary. And then she didn't get home, and one of the police officers here noticed her car at first, then came back later around midnight, or I believe somewhere around that time, and found her car again. And I guess then they found footprints that led from the car, from St. Paul Church, where the car was found, that led down to the Lake Sinclair, which is right across the street. And so they found those, and they weren't sure, whether or not, she was, she fell in, she went in intentionally, committed suicide, or she was abducted. Her family, leaned towards the fact that they believe she was abducted, that, that they don't believe that she would take her own life. Now, my job at the hospital I do is patient observer, which means I sit with patients who, may have some psychiatric or physical limitations, such as they have trouble walking, they may have tried to harm themselves. And I've talked to a few psychologists, and from what one of the articles I read in the newspaper was saying that she had become paranoid that because in a lawsuit that she was suing an insurance company for because of mold they found in her house. Now, she claims that people were out to get her, that they were tapping her, messing with her bank account, tapping her phones. People were following her. People were coming into her house, which I talked to one psychologist at my hospital. I'm not going to mention his name. I had given him, the brief, little thing about this lady. He said that, it could have led to suicide, which I can understand. I mean, I've had people, and I've read articles and I've heard stories from people who said, 1 minute they were fine and happy. Next thing you know is we find them, they're hung themselves, took some pills, or something like that. And so, now, when this thing first happened, I thought to myself, I kind of looked at it from my perspective, from the hospital setting, and I realized, it could have been, she could have, because they said she had high blood pressure, diabetes, and I'm thinking, she could have gone intentionally. She may have had a brain aneurysm or some type of medical condition that would have caused her to become disoriented, thinking that, she was heading towards her car when she was actually heading towards the lake. They found footprints that led from the lake but not back. And so they found that looked like, so the Grosse Pointe, they had their dive team out along with the Wayne County Sheriffs and the U.S. Coast Guard, and they even had a private and searched the water, and they found no traces. According to one article, they said that they had a couple that they weren't able to be in there for that long because of how cold the water gets. The regulators, which the piece that they put in their mouth that supplies the air to them, were freezing open, so they didn't have much air, so they weren't able to conduct. About a day or two ago, I was driving home and I noticed the private dive team was out there again. And at first I thought it was the U.S. Coast Guard because their boats said on the side U.S. Coast Guard on it, so I don't know why they wouldn't remove those. Now, I was just on the Facebook page for finding her, and they said this was from WDIV, which is one of the main news stations here. And it says, police believe to have found the body in the Detroit River Saturday morning is the missing Grosse Pointe Woods woman, Joann Matouk. But according to this, they still need to have an investigation to confirm the identity. Two people were fishing on the west side of Boblo Island, found the body when it was partially submerged in the water, notified Canadian authorities. She was, according to this, said she's 55, last seen at St. Paul Church on Lakes. on the lake, Catholic Church in Grosse Pointe Farms. Her car was found in the parking lot. Police said there was a set of footprints leading from the car to the lake, and they're planning an autopsy. Is planned for Monday so they can confirm the identity and determine the cause of death. Now, I'm not trying to say that she intentionally killed herself. She may have, she may not have. I don't. I don't. It's not really my area to say. Yeah, she was suicide. I mean, but could have been anything. It led to this. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what's wrong with my camera here. So, I mean, basically, I'm waiting to hear, what, the county coroner or whoever's going to be doing the medical examination is going to say. Was it a suicide? Was it not a suicide? Was it a medical thing? Because according to this, she went missing January the 12th, and today is the 20th of March, so that's been 2 months, 8 days since she went missing about. So, right now, I mean, that's been a lot of talk, and we had a similar incident like that here in Grosse Pointe, except a little different. We had a guy who left St. John Hospital, I believe it was St. John's or one of the hospitals, and he walked home and ended up, I guess, they found the garbage crew, I guess garbage sanitation or whatever they call their cells, I don't know the exact term, found him laying in a driveway. Apparently had died from apparent head injury. Apparently he had left the hospital from whatever in the article against medical advice. So it's been a pretty interesting year for Grosse Pointe. I mean, when it comes to interesting medical and police cases. And so I'm really hoping we finally end this mystery. Was an accident. I'm mainly about Joann Romain. Was it an accident? Was it intentional? What? Because I mean, this has been occasionally, every time I see the dive team out there, I thought to myself, they may never find her, they may find her. It all depends, I mean, I'm glad that family finally has some closure to the subject. If it is her, it may be her, it may not be her. I'm just hoping the family has some type of closure when it comes for this kind of incident. And I mean, right now it's pretty bad. I mean, you finally get that call that you've been waiting for, saying, we believe we found, your mother, your sister, and I'm just hoping that, they can actually, finally say, yes, the woman we found here is her, and, we've done our autopsy, we've done the investigation, and this is what happened. Whether or not, they're gonna say, the coroner's gonna say, it was an accident, she intentionally took the pills, because I mean, there's so far I've heard of two possibilities of what could have happened. Well, or not her, but I'm thinking she may have intentionally taken a bunch of pills to end it. She may have had a medical condition that they didn't know about that caused her to become disoriented, walk in. Or, I mean, and I don't think that there was any foul play involved, and robbery didn't seem to be a motive, so I'm thinking that, because I doubt anybody forcibly made her go in there. So this is Nick's day, and I will talk to you guys later. I'll probably have one in the next few minutes if I can think of something else. I will talk to you guys later.